Our next speaker is John Sullivan, who's the Chief Engineer with the Boston Water and Sewer Commission. And I think John's going to talk a little bit about design criteria. As we talked about before, the design criteria are based on past events. How do you incorporate climate change projections into that? And then how do you scale your infrastructure appropriately to account for that? So, John?
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I won't talk about design criteria because it's the afternoon and you just ate lunch. But I didn't want her to know that. We're just going to go over a little bit of some climate adaptation issues we've been dealing with in the city of Boston. The title does say water and sewer. Good news in the water system. It's all fed by gravity, so we don't care if electricity goes down. There'll be plenty of water so that when you're washing down the walls after you get flooded, it's available. And it'll work. So firefighting will work. That is very important. If issues occur, it's the fire, is that you have water to put out the fire. So on all our strategies, all our studies, you're in good shape with the water. That's the only positive news I have today. The biggest problem we're finding right now is the ability to talk to people about something that's going to happen in the future, and it is going to happen, but when it's going to happen, so we give a sense of urgency, but we don't put panic in place. And it is extremely difficult. So today, you'll get some more slides that we've been playing around with to see if you look at them with a big quizzical, what the hell is he talking about? Because we're talking to the public, and we've been going around the neighborhoods, we've been showing them what's going on, and some people get real nervous. Some people don't care at all because they're on the third floor. But in general, the owners are saying, should I sell now? What do I do? Where do I flee? We're saying you don't do that. We're working on systems to get out of it. So I always bring this up because everybody in our department wants to show you graphs and slides. We have more graphs than you care about. They'll all be available in September, so look forward to that. But these are projections in the future, and it's our best guess at what's going to happen. The key is keep measuring and keep running those models and seeing what's happened. So this is the commission. We operate within the confines of the city of Boston only. We purchase all our water from the MWRA, and we give them back all the spent water. And so all we do is run pipes. Pipes are us. So we're just inside the city. That's a key point. Because when you talk about the climate adaptations, it's the region that gets affected, and we need to be talking to each other. So any of you out there that are working on the same studies, and we all work together, if you see the slides that I stole from you, it's because we're working together. It's not that. This is the size of Boston's infrastructure. I just listed it all out. We're the largest ones around, but we're not that big compared to other major cities. But it is a sizable amount. One of the key things is the number of pumping stations. It's very strange for a city this size to have that few pumping stations. The key is that only 4 of them handle sanitary flow. The other ones take care of underpasses. We have a big one for the south end. That's the biggest one we worry about. But we've got backup redundancy and then some more redundancy on the backup. So we're in good shape there. The underpasses, if they flood, go around them. Get used to it. So this is Boston in 1630. What you may or may not know is that a lot of Boston is filled in land. That's the peninsula out there, and that's what Boston was, and that's Roxbury Neck, and the British, and that's where George Washington told them to go. So you can see how it all was set up. This is the filled-in land now, and so you can see the neck again in the district. All of this is all filled-in land. And you don't have to study too much, because just look where it's really flat. That's where we filled it in. No big deal. This is what we're projecting for 2100. If you notice, it's kind of like getting back to the future. We have just a little city, and potentially, if everyone's scenario, the worst-case scenario were to happen, that could happen. Doubt very much because these are computer models. They're doing the best they can. You're going to have a sea surge on top of a rising tide, on top of everything else, because we're all using carbon. Things will change. That's a long time away. At least I won't be seeing that. So, climate change risk. We decided to do a 3-year study excuse me, of our wastewater system. We're just completing that in August. Part of it was excuse me, climate change. 3 things we worry about. Increased rainfall. The increased river flows. We're really an island with Charles River and the Ponce River on both sides of us, which can come up and get you. And then the sea level rise and the storm surge. Now that has been, a lot of study has been on the sea level rise and storm surge, and you'll be hearing that over and over again. There's some great work done on it. I won't beat that to death. We did incorporate that in our own. We did our own analysis, and we're getting ready to share our analysis with everyone else. It's all close. What's key is that we got to tell the public what the range is, because we can't have Boston, not that we'd be more accurate than Cambridge, but the Charles River's there. And if we think it's going up 2 feet and they say it's going up 3, there could be an issue. So we'll tell them, well, it's going up 2 to 3 feet. So the changes in rainfall, it's changing already, the amount of rain we get all the time. It's up 52 inches by our recent analysis, and we think it'll go up to 65. That's no big deal unless it comes all at once. So if you spread that over a year, so we get more rain. That's good. That's good because we can save on our resources and we don't use as much. So that's a real plus. One of the problems is, though, all of our sewers, every one of them, was designed using criteria we developed in 1950. And it doesn't fit a lot of the criteria that we see now. We are not going to dig up every street. It seems that way, but we're not going to dig up every street again. So what we need to learn to do is adapt. We need to learn how to store water, move water, change around. That's what our plan is. How will we adapt to it? The key is that the design is for 4.8 inches of rain in 24 hours. It's not even the 24 hours that we worry about. We can handle those things. It's when you get 2 inches of rain in 20 minutes. Because we tend to store that on the city streets, because you can't get it into the pipes. There's an inlet capacity issue. So that is a problem. We need to deal with it. And when people call us up and say, my car got flooded, we'll tell them, deal with it. The monitoring rainfall, these are all the regional rainfalls. And what's important about this is we've been watching it very closely. 1996, we had some tremendous floods in Boston. So we set up a series of rain gauges in Boston. We do what most people don't do. We measure rainfall in 5-minute increments, which when we set it up, everyone said that's crazy. It's the best thing we ever did. When we had particular flooding 2 years ago in South Boston, we couldn't figure out why, because it said there was 5 inches of rain in 15 minutes. That's what we would have measured. We found out that we had 1 inch of rain, rather, in 15 minutes. We had 1 inch of rain in 3.5 minutes. And that's why everyone flooded. But if we used the regional stations, which we used to, we would have said, well, we don't know what happened. So by collecting this data, which is all available to everybody, after about 20 minutes after it rained out, you can go onto our website, look it up, and we publish that. In fact, we spoke with NOAA, and they're taking our data because of the 5-minute increment. And one of our recommendations in the study, and nobody ever noticed it because you worked there, I guess, we don't have anything right in the middle. So we have to put one more rain gauge, and then we figured out that's where our headquarters are, so we have one on our roof. The tide is rising. You've probably seen this graph. It's one of the stolen ones. It's going up, and we know that. We need to deal with it. One of the reasons we need to deal with it, where do we dump our water? We dump our water into the ocean. And so when the tide is up higher, when the tide's down, you can dump all the water you want. But as the tide rises, you got to push head against it. You got to push that water out. And that is a problem. So we're doing our analysis again. Do we need to store some of the water? And one place we think would be fantastic to store water would be all these beautiful parking garages they're building in downtown Boston. They build them under the buildings. If we knew a big storm was coming, we knew we had a storm surge, and if we did our homework ahead of time, we could get all the cars out of there, and that's a nice place to put water. And you could pump it out if you thought about it ahead of time and put the pumps in there. So that's one of the things we're thinking. Maybe we take an easement. We own rights there, only when it's raining hard. But that's something that we're looking at. As I said before, the MWRA system, we are totally dependent on them. This is Deer Island, in the outfall pipe. We dump a lot of sewage at Columbus Park, a lot of it at Ward Street, some of it down south here, but these are the two primaries and some in East Boston. Our expectation is, in a big sea surge, that the MWRA will, in order to protect their equipment, and we want them to do that because we want to have them start up after the high tide, they may just shut these things off, which lets us fend on our own. So we do expect to protect their equipment, because their equipment, you don't buy one of those at Home Depot. They're very large, they take years to get. So it may be part of their resiliency plan to do it. They're going to speak in an hour from now. I won't be here. I don't want to hear what they're going to do. But I just want to let you know that's what we got. This skeleton plan is just our sewer, sewer and drain system. And these blue dots are what's important. These are pump stations that we own. So we don't own any down here. It's a wonder the people that built the system built it by gravity. So we're not dependent if electricity goes out. The couple of important ones, Trilling Way in South Boston is the largest one. It's 6 MGD, which is a tiny one. We have the redundancy. We're going to build walls around it so it can't get flooded. We're going to build it so we can shut that down if a big surge comes so that the next day we can turn it back on. You know, if the flood's here and you got 4 feet of water outside, you probably got 4 feet of water inside. We just want to be able the next day when the tide goes out, which happens 6 hours later usually, get up and running. So that's our key plan, is to take the hit, but be able to get back up on our feet. So is the tide rising? Well, this is some of the shots we give to the public. This is Fort Point Channel, and there is your high tide in on the property. So this isn't magic. You didn't need to model this, although we did use this one on one of our models to see if it really worked. It was a calibration. We showed that it would have come up here. It did. You would have noticed that anyway, because that's a dip. Christopher Columbus Park comes up over the wall. Does that today. This is Long Wharf at high tide. You can go to Long Wharf at a super high tide. You can look up a tide calendar, and you can see that. This isn't something we're worried about in the future. That's something we deal with today. And that's Morrissey Boulevard. That just perennially goes under. And again, this is Long Wharf, where the tide comes up. Those were during storms, but this one was just a high tide. That's the chart house. And the reason I show you this is our sewer is underneath here. So any holes we have in the manhole covers, any place that it can leak, all that ocean wants to come into our pipe. And the reason for that problem is we can take a little bit of infiltration and inflow, but we can't take the ocean. We can't do that. I thought was great one night, we were down watching them, and so the people could get out of there, they gave them green trash bags, and they got to walk out in green trash bags. Adapting. This is just a quick little sketch that we show to some people. This is Boston Water sewer pipes. We tie into the MWRA pipes, and this is any building. The real problem in all the buildings in the city of Boston are people built in the cellars. They didn't just store their roots and wines there, which they're supposed to. They put bathrooms down there, and there's sinks, and there's all kinds of facilities. And the problem with that is until, most of the time we run and everything runs fine, it starts raining out a bit, and then it rains out a little bit more. And what happens is our pipes start filling up, and the MWRA starts filling up, and if it's a high tide, it gets even worse. And so as we start filling up, we start storing our water. And it stores because it comes back up the pipes, and it comes out of the toilets. And this is very common during the big rain events. And everyone says, why? And we go through this with them, and we keep explaining. So the harder it rains, the more we'll fill it up. Now, the good news is it can only fill up to that high. So that's the only good news I give you. The key on this, though, and it's something that the commission needs to do to talk to our citizens, there are devices. They call them backwater valves. They belong on the facilities in the basement. And they work if you maintain them. Every time someone gets flooded, they go out, they put one of these in, they sing hallelujah, they don't maintain it. So 3 years from now, that happens again, and we get to fill up the basement again. The problem with the basement fillings, we've got to remember, if we flood out the whole city, if you do it in January, you can't buy enough oil burners, hot water heaters. There just aren't enough of them around. You've got everybody downstairs that got drywall. They try to dry it out, but they don't do a good job. Mold sets in. So major, major public health consequences, besides the fact that more than likely you got a little sewage mixed in there, so just letting you know. This is a quick shot. The blue lines are our combined sewers, and one of the problems I show you on this is the combined sewers means that the catch basins on the street tie into the sewer. And if the ocean is able to get up and get into the combined sewers, it fills up our sewage, and therefore tries to get into everybody's home. So it's an attack from underground. It's what will happen. That's one of our big pushes. We're even looking at giving grant programs to get out there and help people install devices. My recommendation to everybody is everything in the basement should be on a pump, And you should be taking that water, pumping it up high, and dumping it into the sewer. So there's no way that can get into your basement. People use the backwater valves, but the way to be sure is to do it that way. And they say, what if the electricity goes out? And I say, use the upstairs toilet. That's, or if, make sure if you're in an apartment, you're friends with the people upstairs. So this is a quick run, an analysis that we did. It just shows the water in the edges, but a lot of our combined sewer is in good shape, and a lot of the stuff in the edges has been separated, so it isn't a factor. There are some, and we're going to take a look at it to see what can we do to minimize that impact. This is one of the stolen pictures. Back Bay, this is Cambridge. I get totally lost in Cambridge, by the way. This is the nice city, by the way. A lot of very, very expensive real estate here. And it's so very important for us because how a city stays alive is expensive real estate, great values. You get the tax on the assessed values. That's how you keep cities alive. But some of the projections show there'll be an issue if we overtop the dam or the river water's coming down too high. And so we're looking at that. And our analysis showed that with the surge, 5.13 foot surge, I believe is the number up there, we have flooding in the south end, but not that great of flooding in here. There is some, and these are the little alleys in the back of those homes. And there's solutions for those. You can build pump stations. There are solutions. We have a way out. We're not going to go build them right away because we're going to be monitoring everything as we go along. We're not just going to spend money in case something's going to happen, because you know what happens then? You put it in, it waits 10 years. The day you turn it on, it doesn't run. That's what happens with anything. You buy a brand new car, put it in the garage for 10 years, it won't start. There's another analysis we did without the surge, but it shows us that the rainfall, the intensity of the rainfall is still going to be a problem for us, so we need to address these things. So the way we're going to address them is we got the models, we're going to each of these sites, we put little devices in there, and we monitor it. And when it rains out, we check our gauges, how hard did it rain? We check this and see how hard the sewer came up. Because just because the model says it works, it doesn't always work that way. These sewers are really mysterious things, especially when they're working and they work right. This is the entire city. As you can see, the problems move to the innovation district. That's the theme here. That's Cambridge. This is the downtown part where you see the big flooding. We also have flooding sporadically up in West Roxbury and these areas, and our plan up there is to hold the water. We can hold it in the Arnold Arboretum. We can build little dams on the pipes that take those brooks. So we're looking at all the topography so we can hold back water up there and bleed it into the system later. Whether it be a day or two, it wouldn't matter. So we have some areas in Dorchester that we worry about, some areas in there, and of course, East Boston's got a bit of an issue. This is some other slides we borrowed. That's the FEMA flooding now. That's the Greenway and the part of East Boston. This is on a separate study that several are working on. It has a bit of an issue when a tide comes up and it's raining hard. And again, this is a combined sewer system. That means all our sewers are taken out. The good news is if you're living up here, you can still flush. The bad news is that's where you flush because it comes back out of the ground. Major public health issues. And people say, yeah, it's water and this. You know, sewage is sewage, and to have your couches and everything you own covered by it. Then you got to take all the debris management. And people have to live in between this. Good news is the water's fresh and clean. Told you that. And that's the 2100 scenario, but again, we don't know. And that's another one, you know, we show that. One of the key things we worry about our Trillingway pump station, that's where the federal judges sit. That's the same federal judges that gave us the consent decree. We'd like to keep that running. This is what could happen on a scenario on flooding. And why that's important, it shows this is downtown. Here, the purple lines are combined sewers. That's where the street is connected into the sewer system. We would simply flood out our sewer system. We'd send it down to the MWRA, who, depending on the scenario, probably has just shut themselves down. So it causes everybody, all the water wanting to go into everybody's basement. And that's the problem. We've got to communicate with the public. It's not our fault if it gets in your basement. You've got to do something to protect yourself. And so we need to make sure they understand, we all take steps, and be ready for the next day to get up and running to make sure our systems work. Unlike electric, unlike communications, all our pipes get wet. They carry sewage. So It's no big deal for us. We're not going to get hurt. If we just take care of 4 pump stations in the city, we're in good shape. MWRA takes care of 7 or 8 of their facilities. The system can get back up running. Not that there won't be damage. This is, I always show this one because I always liked when Mayor Menino wanted to move City Hall down to the waterfront, the Innovation District. If he just waited, there's City Hall. So Mayor Walsh is going to wait for this slide on that. And here is the Public Works building. We need to take a look at that. The Budget Office requires everybody to look at them. That's our framework. It's the same as everyone else will have. Take a look at it, assess the risk, study it, and implement. I'm not going to read them. Adaptation strategies, all the things we're going to do. We'll be starting them in next year's CIP. Our commission has given us the money we need to start the process. This isn't a money problem. We can't do it. We just need to do it and spend the money wisely. It's public money. It's your money. So this is what we want to have for the poster. We didn't think a sewer would be that sexy. So resilient, and that's what it means. That's what it means to us, and that's what we want to do. And if we do it right, we'll be in good shape. This is the poster we don't want to have hanging up there. If you think your problems create a bad, wait till you see our solutions. So that was it, and I'll take any questions afterwards.